Welcome, welcome. It is the Super Bowl Sunday edition. Sorry while I do all this business here, trying to get all this figured out. How you guys doing? Hope you're having a wonderful day. It is a wonderful Sunday. I'm trying to get this last thing going here. Here we go. All right, guys. So the question I have today, what's up, P. Petya, Jams, Jelly Jams? What's up? Hi, Gil. Give me a number one in the chat, guys. Welcome, welcome. Jack Zell Wrestling, good. How are you? What about you? I'm doing good. Nico Wrestling, doing great. Glad to see you guys. Okay, so here's something, right? So we all know that a lot of times there's this rift that happened between amateur wrestling and pro wrestling because pro wrestling was worked, rigged, fake. People hate it. But there's a lot of talk going around that the NFL is rigged and fake. And I want to talk about this today. It's controversial. I'm not saying I got smoking gun evidence. I'm just asking as somebody who's critically minded, let's investigate this, see if there's any truth that could be substantiated here. Is the NFL rigged? First of all, I just want to know your opinion because it's been very controversial, people talking about it. Give me a number one in the chat if you think it's rigged. Do you think that the NFL is rigged? That's my question to you. Yes or no? What's up, Logan Terror? Hello, hello. Gavin, Nelly, Abra, Bad Matthew, Al Rab. I'm sorry I messed up your name, Matthew. The NFL is rigged as F-U-C-K. All right, dude. Yeah, I mean, listen. Not just in sports, right? We got to look at what are the strategies of winning, and rigging and fixing is another way of winning. Now, who's winning, right? Parker Midkiff, I got third in the region. Your advice helped me. Thanks. What was the advice? Sorry, buddy, I don't remember, but congratulations. Good to go. I remember talking to you. I just don't remember my advice. Herbert Callahan, somewhat rigged, but not scripted. Mohit Godara, hi from India. What's up, India? Just stick. I think all top sport is rigged. Too much money to be lost or gained. Okay, so this is kind of where I'm going. There's a lot of money. It's even bigger than just the money. It's the influence. So I want to talk about this. If you guys think it's rigged, give me a number one. Hit me up in the commentary. I'd love to get your perspective. Love to share it with the audience. What's up, Aurora Soccer? Parker Midkiff pretty much said not to get in my own head and stay cool. Nice, dude. That's the hard thing. You got to stay relaxed and just know when the bell sounds or when the whistle sounds, all of it will go out because you're going to be constantly present. You need to be present at all times. This is where like the Buddhist thing really comes in. Anyway, super proud of you. Happy to have helped you a little bit. Congratulations. You won that, dude. Send me a picture. I'd love to. I'll share it on the page, Parker. Okay, so let's break this down, right? Because I talk about strategies of winning, not just in sport, but in life, in business, and the mental game that really sets champs apart. Fair? So today we're going to be pulling back the curtain a little bit on a topic that's very controversial, very captivating, the theory that the NFL rigs games. If you're here late, I want to hear your perspective. Do you think the Super Bowl is predetermined? Okay? It's not just about football. It's about understanding the playbooks of power, right? We hear maybe elections are rigged. Just throwing that out there. Okay? Is the NFL rigged? How does rigging happen? What are the incentives in play? Is the NFL fixed? Is it predetermined? And let's do this. Who do you think is going to win? If it's rigged, who is it rigged for and why? I'd love to hear all that, right? Because it's about understanding, like I said, this playbook of power, the strategy, the pursuit of victory, influence, and really principles that guide everything that I do. In fact, the reason I'm talking about this so much is I'm almost done with my next book in the Sportify series. The first book was on Beyond Gamification. How do you do sportification? Second book is going to be the parallels between good sportsmanship bioethical principlism, and business ethics. Crazy, right? I know, but I'm hoping to make it palatable and valuable to you guys. So before you dismiss this just as another conspiracy theory, let's tackle this like a football coach breaking down a play, looking at game film. Okay? So let's analyze the plays, the calls, the strategies, and they now have both fans and critics alike questioning the integrity of the NFL and the Super Bowl, right? So it's not just about sports, it's about the game of life, about corruption. This is a real problem, right? Corruption is why the Bill of Rights of the United States exists. The first 10 amendments exist because of the threat and the very real human problem of corruption. Well, let's talk about it not on a macro political scale. I hate that. Let's talk about it in business. And let's talk about it in sports, the business of sports. Okay? So the NFL is a business, and its job is to maximize profits. It's not like the Olympics where it's there to determine who's the best. And sometimes there's some weird stuff that goes on in the Olympics too. But let's just get that out of there, okay? That the human element in this stuff is both good and it can be good or bad. Is that fair? All right. So underdog stories, legendary comebacks, narratives. This is what pro wrestling excels at. We've had a perfect example of how a sport can start rigging things to make money with professional wrestling, the longest running consecutive TV show on television history ever. Wrestling. Jestix says, this is a rabbit hole in itself. Top sports is rigged. It's there to keep us transfixed on it while other stuff is going on without us noticing, like our freedom's being taken away bit by bit. Boiling frogs. Y'all heard that analogy? How do you boil a frog? Do it real slow. I don't disagree with you, my friend. That's what I see. So this is where I'm curious. And if you don't see it, I want to hear that too. I am a big friend of freedom of speech and holding a safe space for people to have conversations without getting canceled, without being rude. The normal rules of typical debate, forensic debate, right? The logical fallacies hold. No ad hominems, no non sequiturs, that kind of thing. Now, this isn't that crazy. Like, right? Remember the infamous no call in the Saints-Rams NFL championship? Moments like these really can highlight how subjective things can be, right? Like how officiating can be. So if you rig a game, let's talk about this. So if in boxing, MMA, wrestling, the only person who you could totally fix a match, and the only person who knows that it's fixed would be the one who took the dive. The guy who wins could think, the guy who officiates could think it's real. But the one that loses is the only one that needs to know. Now, how do you do that? Oh, you can't do that in the NFL. There's too many players. Everybody have to be in on it. Is that true? Or is there one person or two people calling the plays? A very small group of people. You could play really crappy coaching plays and work a game. I'm just saying, like we have to actually express these ideas, right? We have to look at this. Like I was saying, like underdogs, comebacks, that generates a lot of revenue. We've seen it over and over again in the WWE. Why? Or dominant champions, somebody like Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns or Bruno Sammartino, these dominant champions too, right? We saw it with Tom Brady. So creating a narrative is very, very powerful. Again, I see a lot of people on the chat, not a lot of people voting, a few people jumping in, brave souls. Is the NFL rigged? Because this has bigger implications for the rest of our world, right? And what if every political system is rigged? What if every sport is rigged in some way? You need to look at these things critically. Jay Stick says it's the modern version of the gladiators fighting in the Colosseum. Let's see here. Keep the plebes amused and tax the shit out of them for privilege. Dude, you and I are on the same page. I do see this as well. Herbert Callahan, they did assign a ref to the Ravens game that flags the home team more, right? So do you see how we could set advantages, and then you have coaches and refs, and you don't even need to have the players really in on it. They could be playing their hearts out. And a lot of people have brought this up, right? So we got to look at like that it's profit driven, which could lead to corruption, that there is a human element with officiating, and that there is concentration of power in the coaches to call these plays, right? Now, I don't know how you could better, we do things like instant replay and stuff with technology. I don't know how you could, maybe somebody out there's got a way that we could leverage technology to make sure that these people are not cheating, right? And what about betting markets? We know that that's really why the corruption in betting markets is why professional wrestling went away, right, as a competitive sport. I'm trying to bring it back, but the criteria is it's got to be bettable. People got to be able to bet money on the outcomes for it to be considered sporting. I know that might sound backwards, and you could still game it. So it's a challenge. This is why this topic is so powerful to me, because I'm trying to reverse a corrupt system, a system that's so corrupted. I'm talking about professional wrestling, and I say that with air quotes, that everybody just accepts that it's fake. I'm not saying that the athletics are fake. I'm saying the outcomes, that it's not real, that it's theater. It's action theater, like action cinema. It's action theater. Well, is that what's happening with football and almost every other sport? And how can we make sure that that doesn't happen? All right. So what would be the upside? Let's look at the psychology of a fan. Let's look at the economic implications. We know that at some report, who is it? Did anybody see this report that said something like 1/5 of the population will just vote for whoever Taylor Swift says she's voting for? Critical thinking be damned. Any kind of real analysis of the issues or policy or the voting record of the politician or lack of experience or more recently age and decrepitness and mental decline in older candidates. None of that matters. Just who's Taylor Swift? Well, Taylor Swift has been going to every football game. So does that mean that, Kansas City's going to win? The guy who has all the big Kelsey or whatever his name is. I don't even follow this stuff. The guy who has all he's the Moderna or whatever, the Pfizer spokesperson now. Oh my God, what a disaster, right? So, in the end, whether the NFL is orchestrating these outcomes somehow, or the coaches, or it just looks that way, right? Justic says, also fan rivalry is a way to divide and conquer. So, right, you're right about that, Justic. Like, look at what did George Orwell say? As long as they have football games, you could get away with anything, right? Bread and circuses, that kind of idea. Just curious, guys, what is your take on this? Is the NFL fixed? Is it a rigged game? And how would you do it? I outlined some incentives. I outlined how it could be done. Stellar Steven just got back from open mat. What's up, brother? Good to see you practicing, dude. Hope you're getting better. Are you doing no gi? I hope. Or are you doing gi? But either way, I'm very happy to see you practicing. That's how you get better, man. Just got to get in the lab, get beat up until you start being the one beating up people. There's no easier way. And it's the same if you're getting beat up on the phones during sales. You just got to make those calls. Stellar Steven, I saw local wrestlers talking about how it's fixed. Well, so you ask somebody like Luthez, for example. He was famous for thinking everything was a work. Okay? I don't think everything is a work. I think maybe, it's like almost like a psychological confession for these people. So I have no idea whether NFL is fixed or not, but I certainly see how it could be, and I can understand why it would be, because it's easy to look when you're a student of professional wrestling, how they did it. You could easily extrapolate that to how it would happen with the NFL or any team, right? Edward Ramos 33, what's up, brother? Says, don't know if it's rigged, but at the end of the day, it's a way to control the masses and keep them distracted from innovation and true social progress. Again, don't disagree with you. And watch the propaganda and the ads. You guys realize that 75% of ads on television were paid for by pharmaceutical companies. So what does that tell you? 75%. Who controls the news? He who pays the piper calls the tune. He who pays the news calls the news. Okay? So again, the argument is simple. We've seen evidence of this. We hear players talking about this, that the NFL is rigged. We could see the economic incentives. We could see even the political incentives. And now we even know how it could be done. If we take the premise that the only person who needs to be in on a rigged game, a dive, a fix, a work, is the person losing it. The person who wins may think they really win. The officiating might think they win. They might be corrupt too, though, right? So this is how you could do it, right? First, you compartmentalize it and you keep those decisions at the highest levels of control. I'm saying the coaches. The coaches could call the plays that we know would give the other team an advantage, especially now, like we talked, there are officiation officials that are in play that lean one way or another. So now we know. So let's say the person who loses starts running bad plays and the person who wins starts running good plays. All the players on the field would not have a clue. They're just doing their best in their little micro plan. I mean, am I crazy? Is this a possibility? Am I totally off my rocker? Am I out of line to suggest this? I think that we've seen so much corruption. And here's the funny thing. I think people are being a bit naive, maybe a little of a neophyte when it comes to corruption. It's always been there. It's just that we have more surveillance available to us through cell phones and internet to talk. They do their best to cover it up. So I think it's the same amount. And I think we actually have a real shot at squashing it if we don't give in to complacency. We stand up, we fight. You see all these farmers in Europe. Where are the Americans protesting, doing these things? Okay, Herbert Callahan. I definitely think they're trying to milk as much money as they can, like taking advantage of Taylor being in the Chiefs games and gaining Swifties as viewers. Yeah, thank you. J-Stick, paying players to throw games plus use as much tech possible within the game, which is easily manipulated. Also take decisions away from the refs and someone in a truck in the stadium car park. Edward Ramos says there's no incentive not to work it. So Rob Dent, politics is pro wrestling. Dude, you know my work. I appreciate you, sir. Yeah, man, what do you guys think? I'm getting the consensus that a lot of people think that this is rigged. I lean towards these problems because I don't see anybody mitigating these problems. How do we know that the coaches aren't running bad plays? How do we know that one of the coaches isn't in on it, doing betting through a friend of a friend to make a lot of money? We don't know these things. Fair? Is that fair, or am I being paranoid? I don't think I'm being paranoid because I have no dog in the fight. I don't really care other than I am anti-corruption. Stellar Steven, today was no gi. Good, dude. Good. Every day should be no gi. Stellar Steven, thoughts on college versus pro? I think that the same issues arise in both. I don't see anti-corruption fail-safes, and I don't see, this is the biggest problem. I don't see the average person outraged by corruption, whether it's sports, business, personal relationships, politics, economics, finance, romance. I don't see people as outraged about corruption. And why is that? Is it because everybody's been kind of seduced into the corruption? Let me just make an analogy. How many of you guys have an iPhone? How many of you guys have an iPhone? Even a smartphone. Do you know that a lot of those batteries are being mined by slave labor? Would you be willing to give up your cell phone in protest? How about even this? Would you be willing to give up your cell phone in protest of you being manipulated? Or are you being given enough convenience and comfort to give up your privacy, to give up your autonomy, to give up your freedom of speech, to give up your freedom to assemble, to give up your freedom to make a wage without the state or any government or anybody interfering, as long as you're not harming anybody and everything's consensual and not corrupt, not fraudulent. I think there might be some of that. I think we all, first step, should look in the mirror and see, where are we tolerating corruption in our own lives, and how are we making excuses for it? Because then that ripples up. If they can get you to buy in by being corrupt yourself, then they get like a license. So I think, you see these farmers in Europe slinging manure against all the political buildings and doing blockades. Why? Because they're mad and they're fed up, and they can see what's happening. They see that this corruption, this collusion between large, big governments and large, big corporations becoming one, which is the definition of fascism, is attacking everybody's livelihood. Food. Edward Ramos, the goal is to give people just enough to be happy, but not enough to fulfill their dreams. We have to do this ourselves. So, this is why we have a Bill of Rights. What do we have when it comes to sports? Sports is just entertainment. Or is it a true contest? This is where it gets murky. Anyway, listen, I don't pretend to have all the answers. I just appreciate you guys jumping in. So happy to see you. I do hope you enjoy the entertainment today. But remember, keep an eye towards the corruption, towards, these problems. I think that it's legit that we should probably be a little wary. Anyway, guys, great day. I hope you guys have a finish to the weekend that's fantastic. Gets to spend some time with your family and with your friends, and some quality time on this Sabbath, this holy day for some of you, but this day of rest for everybody, regardless. And we'll be back at it tomorrow. I need you guys to get serious about succeeding. Okay, I think it was Edward Ramos who said it's up to us. It's our responsibility. Nobody owes you anything. So you've got, what I want you to get to is, I want you to have a mind that's skeptical and that's also geared towards problem solving. So if we're skeptical and we look at the reasons why corruption exists and we just accept to punk rock 22, we're getting closer to socialism and communism. Yeah, I think that's what the aim is here. I think there is a bit of a takeover, but they're playing a long game. I think it started back in 1913 with the Federal Reserve Act and the implementation of an income tax. Both of those happened in the same year. I think it was a political coup that happened. And it's made it incredibly difficult for people to get ahead unless you're in the aristocracy, right? And it may be a bit of a underground aristocracy, one that, have you heard of the American aristocracy? It's fascinating. This young lady was doing genealogical research. She found all presidents, all U.S. presidents, mind one, Martin Van Buren, were related. Just like a European monarchy or aristocracy, that the power players were all related. A little freaky, right? So, and this is factual. This isn't even conspiracy. It's factual. So how do we fight against corruption? Well, in politics, that's the purpose of the Bill of Rights. Trial by jury, right? It's free speech, freedom to assemble, freedom of religion, freedom to defend yourself, like all these wonderful things, states' rights, all of them, 1 through 10, whether they're being enforced now or not, that's actually up to you. You get the leadership that you deserve and that you fight for. You encourage what you tolerate, okay? So, guys, we've got to do, these laws exist now, and we can't let them to tweak things. And it's the same with rules in a sport. Now, I'm just curious, for those of you out there, especially on the Scientific Wrestling page, do you prefer watching scripted WWE matches or unscripted UFC matches? If you had your choice and you had to watch one, and they were both promoted well, they both had great athletes, which one would you prefer to watch? One would be unscripted. Give me a 2 for scripted. 1 for, let's say, shoot pro wrestling. Shooting, people, legit grapplers going hard with the rules of pro wrestling. Would you prefer to watch 1, shoot pro wrestling, or 2, worked pro wrestling? Anybody? Would you prefer to watch a movie or a sporting event, a TV show, or a game? Eads Jacob. All right, we got a number 1. Well, I'm working on that. I'm trying to bring Shoot Pro Wrestling, having some fun talks with some power players. Had a great talk yesterday, in fact. So maybe we're getting closer and quicker than you may think to have Shoot Pro Wrestling. Guys, check it out, shootprowrestling.com. Raming 1442, Texas, and I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure what Texas or TX, what that means there. Would you prefer to have legit, straight, competitive, unpredictable matches, or a scripted, maybe unpredictable and designed by human writers or maybe even AI? Which would you prefer? That is really the question. Would you prefer straight, corrupted elections or corrupted? I think for me, the answer is clear. I don't know. It seems like, unfortunately, most people are asleep at the wheel, and a lot of crazy stuff is happening right now. It seems like, I don't know. It's a wild time. Anyway, guys, hit me up in the chat. Hit me in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can also shoot me some DMs. Got great stuff coming up. Edward Ramos says, for someone who trains, I think the preference is shoot because we understand what's going on. But but for the normal guy, pro wrestling is more appealing. Well, maybe you're right. 2Punk Rock 22 says, real wrestling, no corruption, non-scripted, unpredictable. See, that I think both of you guys, and maybe you're right, maybe because I'm appealing to people that are practitioners, but I think that we can look at the lesson of MMA. Let's make the assumption that MMA is not fixed, and I think largely it's not. Again, I'm not blaming Dana White or anybody else like that. I think they seriously take it serious to make sure it's competitive. But there are people trying to work the system outside the rules in their favor. And again, there are people that take dives. I think we've seen some that are undeniable in UFC. And again, it's just the guy who loses. So again, scientific wrestling, I know we have fans that are both pro wrestling and MMA fans. We're one of the few organizations that have straddled both worlds successfully for 2 decades plus. Would you rather see 1, shoot pro wrestling, or 2, worked pro wrestling? It's that simple. If you would rather see shoot pro wrestling, I would love to have you help. Go check out shootprowrestling.com. Hey, what's up, Carm? Yeah, I got a number 1 out of Carm. Go check out shootprowrestling.com. I've got tons of matches, tag teams, triple shoots, singles matches, all done under professional wrestling rules, straight shoots. Go check it out. I just revamped the webpage this weekend. Bunch of great stuff. Have everybody on board. Pat Miletich, Jerry Briscoe, Mo Lawal, all the guys. Wade, Frank Shamrock, all those guys helping me with my vision of bringing back competitive professional wrestling. Would you guys watch football if it was scripted like the WWE? And are you watching football because it's scripted like the WWE? That's the real question that I'm asking, right? And we see guys like Pat McAfee going back and forth with one foot in and out, right? 2Punk Rock says MMA is getting close to scripted when they get matched with lower cards instead of challenges. Well, that is one of the ways that you book it too, right? Is you book a tomato can against a champ. Stellar Steven, does number 1 need gimmicks? Now, what we do with Shoot Pro is outside of the ring, whatever you want, dude. If you want to create beef or you want to do a Conor McGregor, I don't recommend doing anything illegal like him. But if you need to do Conor McGregor to put asses in seats, go for it. Okay. But inside the ring, if I ever got wind of anything, and I'll tell you, I know what a work looks like. I saw some 2 weeks ago. They tried to trick me into thinking it was a shoot. Like literally 3 seconds in, I'm like, this is the worst ever in terms of working. Just work in the ring, and then sell outside the ring, and then let your work, not fake, like your effort, your skills, sell in the ring. Stellar Stevens, I know Carl hated gimmicks. Yeah, and Carl is a massive influence on me, and he's the one who helped us develop the rules. We're the only people that have rules co-developed by Carl Gotch for this kind of project, for both open tournaments and invitationals. Open tournaments like the King of Catch, which is happening March 24th in Imperial Beach. Go to kingofcatchwrestling.com. You can go get involved that way. Or Shoot Pro Wrestling, which we are actively working on right now. We're very close to getting a couple deals. Hoping to get a big show going here soon. The thing is I think there's lessons to be learned in the work side, meaning like how the promotional work works, how the branding works. WWE has made twice the money that UFC has, or well, way more than that because it's an old organization. But let's put it this way: the valuation was double for WWE than UFC. Now, that's just a crude metric, but it shows you the power of marketing. So I think there's lessons to be learned, but I favor 100% straight shoot. Now, my question is, would you watch the NFL if it was a work? And my follow-up question, how do you know it's not a work now? That's where the rubber hits the road. That's what I'm curious to know. So, all right, guys, I'm going to jump off here. If you have anything else to say, now's the time. I appreciate you joining us. Join me in the room. We've got an incredible calendar of events. I was just on the phone this morning with our Hawaii affiliate, dude. Oh, my God. Get out. Come train with me and Wade in Hawaii, dude, on a retreat in paradise. Oh, my gosh. How great is that? If you own a gym, come on out and you can write it off. A whole trip to Hawaii. Edward Ramos, 33. Would you start a catch team that competes at no-gi tournaments? Well, so yes and no. I'm only one person, and I tried. I've had my own gym. I've had teams. I've done all that. Where I think my value lies is in building the business and having the big strategy and the vision and finding people to help me implement. We do have several teams. So Jesse Merez's team is just, all those guys are beasts, and they fly the flag of scientific wrestling and absolutely dominate. I would check him out. We've got a bunch of groups like that just absolutely crush. Gil Olivas' team. There's these groups. I don't know if that helps. Also, is there a reason you haven't opened a school? I did have a school back from 2003 to 2008. I had a school in Southern California. But the fact is this. If you've ever run a business, you've got to focus on what you want to do. There's only so much me to go around. And so I ended up having to let go of the small gym business so that I could grow this global phenomenon to help other people who own gyms run their businesses. Does that make sense, Edward? I don't know if that makes sense to you, but since then we have 17 affiliates. In our first year, just different locations from Italy to Hawaii and everywhere in between. There are gyms where people can go and do this. So, Dagan Saram, hello. Hey, what's up, buddy? Let's see. Any other? Edward Ramos, fuck yeah, makes total sense. I had a gym. It was awesome, but it was very, very limiting for the bigger vision, right? So I have this huge, massive vision, which is really at the crux of what we're talking about today. And that is, how do I bring back competitive grappling under professional wrestling rules in a ring? I don't want to change. I believe that this concept is truly revolutionary. A revolution is a 360-degree return back to the point of origin. It preludes. I've been working on this for 20 years. This concept preludes the TKO merger. They get it. On the macro level of everything we're doing, they're going to do this. Okay? They're going to do this because I've seen this coming for 20 years. Whether people like it or not, whether they're invested in their BJJ nomenclature or whatever because they spent this money or this time chasing these participation belts. I don't even want to call them trophies because they're not even trophies. Edward Ramos, I think more catch guys won tournaments and smash BJJ guys that may help. Well, here's the problem. This is the part of the problem I'm trying to solve. For every one legitimate catch-as-catch-can guy at these Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments, there's 100 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We are truly an underdog. And so this is what the affiliate program is for, is to start developing these guys. Rob Dent, next Shoot Pro in New York State. Yeah, we're working on doing a tag team tournament up in Waterton, New York, uptown. So up kind of close to Albany. Aiming for summer. We still don't have a date. This is the hardest part. We're working with Great North Wrestling out of Canada. They're doing their first American show. And we have a commitment from them to do a show in Waterton. Yeah, that's where we're at on that. I've got a really big deal that we just talked to with a gigantic promotion with huge names associated, like massive celebrity names. But that ink isn't dry. We don't have a deal. I'm aiming to put Shoot Pro on their show in April. So that could happen relatively quickly. If you guys know capital partners, potential broadcast partners, potential distribution partners, hit me up. There's actually a form. If you go to shootprowrestling.com, you can see the rules. You can see the guys we've had on the roster so far. LFA, light heavyweight champ, world champions in grappling. It's really great. And we have every match on there in addition. But there's also this form you could fill out. Send me your tips on broadcast partners, distribution partners, and capital partners. We're looking to really take this big. This concept the timing is perfect, especially for anybody who's really sharp and savvy and sees the vision like I have for 20 years, right? So anyway, appreciate the hell out of you guys. And if you need anything, hit me up in the DMs. I'm